About Fairies by William Mistele. August 7, 2016. Website: facebook.com/William Mistele. Produced by Higher Self.
Do you like fairies? Do you have a fairy garden? If so, you will love this conversation from William Mistele's Facebook page, from the biography of a Pleiadian. Bill, so this thing about your seeing fairy trails when you are out in the woods, when did that first start and what did you first think about it? It has been happening as long as I can remember. And when I say, trails through the woods, I grew up in a confined way. So we never went to the woods very much. But when we went to the park I would see the trails leading to the more nature side of the park. Like I watched the movie, Brave, where Merida follows the wisps. That is what it is like. We just follow the light. Bill, describe a fairy trail. It depends on the fairy. Every trail is different. Some of them look like sparkly gold glitter. Another looks like a road of moss. It just depends. It is like a radiating aura suspended almost like a tunnel hovering above the ground, at least for me. It is a different color, texture, and size for each fairy. Bill, and you have been doing that since you were really young? Oh yeah. I think almost everyone has some kind of relationship with fairies because fairy blood is part of human blood in the very distant past in some way. I would spend time with them. I would put acorns in the trees and I would water the moss if it looked too dry. It is funny, but when leaves would fall around me I would never touch them or try to catch them because a fairy told me when I was a child. She said, "Don't interrupt them because they are on their own spiritual journey. Let them fall the way they want to fall. If they land on you they were meant for you." Bill, so how many of these fairies do you see or do you just sense them? A lot. I see fairies every single day of my life. They are actually the easiest elemental to see. They are everywhere. It doesn't matter if you are in the city or out in nature. You will see more obviously in the deep forest. But even in a little patch of moss in the concrete there is usually a fairy there. That is what they do. Every leaf, every patch of moss has a guardian, or it is a consciousness that is aware. Bill, tell me about the kings and queens of the fairies or the more evolved ones. As a kid I used to watch Thumbelina. My favorite scene is where the king and the queen of the fairies ride in on their little carriage and the fairy prince rides his bumblebee. It was cool that the movie portrayed that because honey and bumblebees are very connected to fairies. And actually when I saw the fairy queen on the screen I kept calling her my mother. And my mom got freaked out so I couldn't watch the movie anymore. Fairies have their own agenda but they have a strong connection to women. I really enjoyed reading The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. In one of her prologues, she states that fairies had to take the form of women at one point. And I really feel that she tapped into that part of human history even if she didn't know that she was. They are part of my heart. Bill, so as the mermaid queen Isafil would come to you when you were young, did the fairies ever come to you to talk to you and meditate with you, that sort of thing? Oh my gosh. Like all the time. The mermaids are selective when they come to you. The incarnated mermaids will tell you they don't just show up 24/7 even though we might be able to feel them all the time. But there is rarely a moment when there isn't a fairy right there willing to speak. So it is odd that legends like in Ireland portray fairies as over mischievous or vindictive because I haven't really seen one like that. There is one bush here in the backyard that is a fairy bush and I swore to the fairies and the honeybees that I would never cut it unless it became sick or something. Because that is their bush and I hear violin music coming from it a lot. And I promised them I would never look into it because they don't look into my spaces. Bill, could you write down one of these fairy melodies for me sometime? L. I think so. Maybe I could write it out on the computer. It sounds like Celtic music for the most part, but other times it is just an instrument like wooden wind chimes. There are just so many genres of fairy music. You have to tell me which genre you want. Bill, since you play violin, maybe you can connect more easily if you hear violin music. L. Yes. I learn by ear, so if I hear it I can play it. Bill, can you see a fairy right now? L. Yes. I am looking out the window in the back bedroom, and by the tree there are fairies all over. They are so cute. Bill, so they are about 3 or 4 inches tall. L. There are actually different sizes because there are different races of fairies. There is a pretty diverse range. Like some look more like a leaf than a person, and then others look more human. Bill, do they all have wings? L. Some of them have wings. But they can glide or float even if they don't have wings. Bill, and you see fairies down by the stream too? L. All the time. They are like little water men. They have like a little bit of mermaid in them, but they are more airy. And they are not mischievous like they are trying to play tricks on people. They just don't have the same defining ideas that people have. It is like many of them are the spirit of laughter. Bill, so we could have stand-up comedians who communicate fairy laughter to human beings. L. I haven't seen any comedians who do that, but there is always the first time. There are different personalities within fairies. Some are silent and they are like the innocence and purity within a flower. And others are more active, cute things. And then others have that laughing, dancing quality, and others are more solemn and still. Not gnome-like, but they have a specific purpose, which over a patch of grass. They are slightly more business-oriented, if you want to put it that way. Bill, and have you had a long-lasting connection with any of them? L. Yes. One is named Lily. She has always been there. And there is a fairy named Galadriel. She is actually connected to someone else. But I have seen her several times. There are really so many that I have seen over and over again. I talk about the girls more often. They are super cute and they have their own culture. I feel Ireland has a lot of healing to do because of the rise of Christianity. Like maybe healing will bring back the memory of the old people and they will remember the times when humans used to see them. We used to walk side by side. They have always been here, but one day humans just stopped believing in them. Bill, so to leave a fairy trail, is the fairy doing that intentionally? Because you often say that before you go into the woods you will ask, how can I help? L. I almost always have an intuitive meeting in the first place, but I try to be polite. And I ask because if they know what needs help they will point me in that direction. But they are aware they can leave a trail if they want to. But all fairies leave a faint trail no matter where they go, though sometimes it is so faint that human clairvoyance can't pick it up. So when they intend it they leave a very visible fairy path. They consciously decide to do it. Bill, you gave examples of where they try to be helpful, like the baby deer. L. Yet or I will find lost children and I will find the family. I found a baby deer that was like the cutest thing in the world. And she had her little foot stuck in a soda can and couldn't get it out. It was like cutting her leg up. So I was able to get that out. And there were some herbs and leaves that aid healing fast. I fixed her up. I went and sat in a distance and her mom came back a few hours later. And up in Flagstaff there is a lot of deforesting. And for every tree they cut down I planted 2 or 3 more. And I have planted over 2,000 trees in the past year. But I also plant tomatoes and spinach that the raccoons can eat because their woods have been destroyed. Bill, You also ran into the raccoons. L. Oh yeah. I see them all the time. Bill, that was part of the fairy trail you were following one time? L. It was like part of it. I didn't have the seeds on me until I went out the next time, but it was clear what I was supposed to be doing. And before I came here I talked to the fairies in Black Forest, Colorado. It is a different vibration. Bill, so there is a difference between Sedona fairies and Colorado fairies? L. Yeah. There is a difference. They all have the same agenda. But they are different in the way they will interact with you. The Sedona fairies are more on board with humanity. There are still some gaps. Whereas the Colorado fairies were like, oh my gosh, humanity. What is this travesty? They don't mean harm, but they know who to seek out and who is actually going to help them with certain things. Bill, so you said you found human children? L. Lost children. Like near popular trails, the parents are like taking pictures and not paying attention to their children who wander off and get lost in the woods. Sometimes the fairies will watch over the child. And once there was a lost child crying in the middle of some leaves. I never usually went by that area. But I did that day because I was following a fairy. And I found him. He was like 3 minutes from the trail. But he was a child. He was not going to find his way back on his own. So I was able to bring him back to his parents. It is not just humans that I help. Like one time I was led into the middle of a creek. And I wondered, what am I supposed to be doing here? You want me to move a rock for you? And I looked down and there were like 5 baby crayfish who were in shallow water. So I took them to the deep end where they were happy and they still live there. Bill, they needed to be in deeper water? L. Yeah. There was like a barrier of rocks coming out in the dry season. And I needed to carry them over the rock. And none of them pinched me or were aggressive. The fairies told them she is going to help you and build you a house where humans won't step on you. Bill, and other things you have rescued? Have you rescued birds? L. So many birds. I rescued a white-throated swift in Colorado. They are a very exotic bird. They can fly over 200 miles an hour. And it made me cry because this group of boys in a car intentionally hit her with their car and then they drove off. I pulled my car over and picked her up and got special permission to keep her for about a week. So I rescued her. And one of the parakeets you will meet when you come here is a rescue. Someone just tossed him out of a house. Bill, so the fairy trail you talked about is something you initiate by asking, how can I help? L. Sometimes. They can take me to an obvious location. But some of the trails are already there because they know I am going to be there. Bill, so you are saying the trails are set up intentionally for you because they know you are coming? L. Yes. Bill, and you follow them. Is there a thing where the fairies say, that's it? Well done. L. Not all the time saying, well done. But they usually find ways to do things for me. Like one time I cleaned up an immense amount of trash around a waterfall. And the waterfall, which is actually quite large, was being blocked because there was that much trash. I spent all day cleaning. And then at the end of the day one of the fairy trails led me a little past the waterfall up to a rock and I thought I missed something. And I reached under a stone and found a rose quartz wand. And the fairy gave that to me. So they reward me in small ways, like with a flower, a crystal, or sometimes with words. Or a situation or opportunity will present itself and they will say, we made this happen. We helped you in achieving it because it was something that you wanted. Bill, what is a rose quartz wand? L. It is a rose quartz crystal that is formulated into a point so you can use it as a wand if you wanted to. Bill, and what was the most serious or complex situation a fairy trail took you to? L. I helped an animal die. I ended up being out in the woods and there was a fox that had one of its feet caught in a trap. That is not usually enough for a death situation because I can help them get out or I call professionals to help. Animals can survive without a leg. But this fox was just so disturbed. And he said to me, I don't want to live anymore. If you heal me, I am just going to find another way to die the minute that you leave me. So I called a vet and told her what was happening and she drove out. She had worked with wildlife. The fox wasn't aggressive. He didn't snap at me the way foxes sometimes do. I just held him and it was really sad and she put him to sleep there. But it wasn't as bad as it could be because his spirit came to me later and said, thank you and in my next life I will be much more happy. So it is sad when I have to help things cross over sometimes but that is sometimes the best help you can give to someone. Bill, who did you call to come help? L. It was a wildlife veterinarian but she didn't have her own clinic. It was normal to call her because she gets called all the time and if animal control is full they would direct you to her. And she came out and assessed the situation and she had an open mentality. And she was like, yeah, this guy doesn't want to be here and I am going to assist him to the other side so he doesn't feel pain. Bill, so what we have been talking about is you in this physical world see fairies who guide you to other situations also in this physical world. Do they ever take you into dream states to their own realms? L. Oh yeah. All the time. I have gone into what you could call a fairy court. It's a nature-style courtyard where you might imagine a fairy king and queen would sit if you want to put it that way. We had conversations about how Pleiadians are different from fairies. We don't have a hierarchy where one person says this other person is going to do this or that. Whereas fairies actually like having a hierarchy right now. And it is an honor for the other fairies to assist the king and queen. It was cool because we were exchanging culture ideas basically. And it was nice because they were not offended perhaps the way some humans would be. They were like, oh, that is pretty cool. Bill, and did you experience that while you were awake or asleep in a dream? L, they came to me while I was asleep and they said to me, we are going on a trip. Pack your astral bags. I have meditated also where they will come to me and guide me. I usually don't even have to meditate. I mean spirits come to me anyway. But sometimes when fairies come they will lead me out of the house. And I will go walking and they will lead me to a fairy portal which is like a gap in a tree or the typical fairy circles or a hole in something that is like a gate to another realm. And they will talk to me about it even if I don't pass through or even look through it. They will say, we just want you to know it is here. It is one of the ways we can go back and forth between realms. I think it is just a form of being friendly by them. Bill, so in this case you are physically leaving the house? L, yeah. But sometimes I will go with them in dreams too so that is not unusual at all. Bill, are there other fairy portals around near the house? L, there are hundreds but they are in places where human beings wouldn't notice. I mentioned the bush in the backyard that is overgrown and that has a fairy portal in there. But I will never look inside of it until they say explicitly, you can look inside of it. Bill, in the Druid tradition they will say like ask permission before you enter a stone circle. Whereas in Harry Potter they go running through a stone circle and I am thinking, oops. L. Sometimes if you step confidently forward they will recognize you as one of their own but you cannot come from a place of arrogance. It has to be a place of knowing like we are family and I am just here to honor you as my family. But part of that is Pleiadian in that there is cultural engineering where you learn to talk in ways others can understand consistent with their culture. Bill, I think I have run into 3 of what I call wood elves. Would you say a wood elf is like a fairy? No. They are a bit different. And it is funny because Pleiadians are often called the elves. Tolkien's elves often have a lot of ego, but it is the beauty we are attracted to which is very similar to the beauty of a Pleiadian, the platinum hair, the tall stature, and their elegant style. But I would say the wood elves have a couple of things in common with fairies. I think of them as more reserved. They are not as playful, more regal. They are very polite, artistic, and musically inclined. They do it in a more refined manner. Like the difference between a fairy and an elf would be going to an Irish dance party with fairies. And then going to like listening to a Gregorian chant by a very refined individual. Bill, and do you run into wood elves in nature? Yes. They walk by looking dreamlike and ethereal. They are not so focused on making a connection. Bill, they are more separate from the human realm? Yeah. More separate. Fairies are about everything in nature. Their heart is with the fox, the raccoon, and the elk. But the elves have like a kinship with the elk and the majestic animals. In some ways, they share the same regal essence. So the elf would be almost like a god to the elk or the fox, whereas a fairy would be like an older brother or sister. Bill, but you can also find very evolved, magical, intelligent fairies? Absolutely. There are all sorts of fairies. Some are very wise, ancient, and have been around since nearly the beginning of the earth. Bill, so in that sense some are evolved like a king or queen of the 4 elements. Yes. Bill, so fairies are all of nature, so that would include the wind, the trees, the forests, the flowers, the rocks, and streams. There are always distinctions between an air fairy and a water fairy. A water fairy is different from a mermaid. There is usually a fairy type that corresponds to its element, especially like wood or tree. There are crystal fairies. There are even book fairies, fairies that want to preserve culture, and they are often more connected to Ireland. I have even asked fairies to help me find a parking place when I go up to Flagstaff and shop, where there is usually never a parking place. Bill, I have found flower fairies that are incarnated. Have you run into any incarnated flower fairies? One girl was the most fairy-type person I have ever met. It was like Tolkien too, because she has the super cool English accent. She had a connection directly into the world of fairy. I watched her walk in the woods. She is like me in that she puts one foot directly in front of the other. She watches where she is stepping so she doesn't crush certain types of pine needles. She tries to go around certain patches of grass because she doesn't want to disturb their spiritual growth. She was like 50 years old. She grew up in Wiltshire, England. Bill, what kind of fairy would you say she was? If I had to put a label on it, I might call her a forest fairy. Maybe a wood elf, but I am saying forest because she had a tree-like energy, because she was very grounded. Trees are like antennae to spiritual and cosmic activity. The ringing cedar trees of Russia, actually the Siberian pine, are particularly like that. Bill, you said there was a second child you found who was lost? Yeah. I have helped multiple kids. But there was a kid that was lost, and police and people were looking for her. I had no idea. I was like walking through the woods. And I kept seeing police go by. And I usually don't reach out and talk to people. But I asked some people, what are you doing? Why are there all these people out here? And they said, they are looking for a lost girl. She has been gone for several hours. She might have been kidnapped. Her mother is in hysterics. So I said to the fairies, come on. This child was not meant to die in this forest. This should be a safe haven for every child that comes into our space. I would take care of your child if it fell into my world as if she were mine. So they led me to her. And she was pretty far out. And if she had kept going, she probably would have killed herself falling off of a cliff. But I found her and I brought her back, and I was talking to the police. She ended up being okay. Just a few scratches. That was a more elaborate happening. Bill, that was in Colorado? L, yes. Bill, how old was she? L, she was like almost 4. Bill, how did that go finding her? L, I saw a fairy trail initially, but it started to get kind of faint. This may sound kind of corny, but I just followed my heart literally. Have you ever seen the movie, The Princess Bride? The guy is looking for which direction to go and he holds his sword in front and starts walking. That is kind of what I did. I had to go a pretty long way to find her. Bill, this other girl I know can do that. She can actually not know where someone is and she can sense where they are and just walk toward them. L, yes. I have done that too with other people back east. There was a girl who I kind of act as her higher self and I felt she was in danger one night. I sat there and I went through a map of the roads in my head. And it was like I pointed to it and thought, she is right there. And I didn't even know what the house looked like. She was at a party and a bunch of guys were getting way too over the top with her and she was tipsy and not able to make decisions for herself. And I was able to get her out of there. Bill, we talked about the most difficult fairy trail you followed. How about the most enchanting or beautiful one? L, I run into those a lot. One was a waterfall that gets very beautiful when the rain is heavy. Another was a mile north of Crystal Lake where there was a waterfall with blue-green water and dragonflies everywhere. The fairies said this was a place of worship using a human word, though the word in their language does not translate. They just took me to a sacred spot of theirs. Bill, you have had many experiences with insects like the praying mantis. Do they have a kind magical, telepathic interaction or is it totally different? L, praying mantis are much more like the greys than they are any fairies. They are not fairies. They are of one mind with the greys. They are masters in their own right. My favorite is the orchard mantis because they are so beautiful. But like the greys, they get a small emotional range when I am with them. And they feel inclined to be close to me and gentle and not pinch me. They are very regal. They have been involved in the hybrid child program and they are absolute masters of telepathy. Bill, the mantis? L, yes. When we first got here to Sedona, I saw 2 greys crossing the road and then they vanished into thin air. And when we got up the next morning, there were praying mantis all over our house. Bill, do you notice the fairies are changed by your presence? L, yeah. It is more like they recognize me as someone to be respected, whereas with most humans it is like, get me away from here. Why are they in my forest? And there is this anxiety like the humans are going to cut down the trees or something. But when I come here it is like a sense of reverence but also great excitement because they are excited to have a human who is not typically human. They seem happier. Oh. I recall just now that once they took me to see a fairy baby. It was so cute. And they had little weeds as a baby blanket. That was the best thing ever. It was in a space like a hole beneath a tree. Bill, do fairies gravitate toward energy vortices and feng shui locations? L, vortices will attract all sorts of beings including negative beings and ETs. But fairies are not attracted to them because they don't have the same agenda. For a fairy, my portal is more like this tree. This is where I came when I was young and on a spiritual journey, and this is my tree. So fairies are after things they can define for themselves, whereas an ET uses an energy vortex as more like a launching site. Bill, do the fairies work with weather, wind, and rain? L. Sort of. They don't cause it to happen. That is more like a sylph, mermaid, or salamander depending on which part of the storm you are talking about. But they can facilitate it on a small scale. Like they can direct a raindrop to the roots of a plant that needs it. Like they can help a raindrop move 2 inches so a plant can drink. In nature magic, it is like the mermaids or sylphs would be a mother, whereas the fairies would be the midwife. Bill, so if you wanted to have a dream about a certain plant with specific herbal properties that would say heal infections, would fairies come to you to give you that insight? L. Yes. Fairies are very involved, like they are very here for women and natural birth control. But they know the plants and where to guide you to find them. Bill, and so for a woman's period? L. Yeah. They have had me use angelica root. I had very little herbal knowledge at the time. Fairies can help facilitate solutions so things work out okay. Bill, and what about indirect healing? Say you had an ache or sprain you wanted help with. L. On rare occasions fairies can heal things directly, but usually they use a conduit because they like the connection, like using an herb. Or, another form of healing, like honeybees and fairies are like really good friends. The fairies have honeybee therapy, where they will cause a honeybee to land on you, enchanting you so you appear like a flower, or just by asking the bee. And the bee's vibration can unblock the energy flow. And they did that to one of my ears once when I had an ear infection. So they do stuff like that. They do herbal stuff. Sometimes they will have a butterfly land on you, like on your heart. I have a good standing with butterflies. Bill, so could you say that there are certain kinds of fairies that specialize in butterflies or certain kinds of flowers? L. I think so. Bill, do you ever get the feeling that you create fairies if you are in a certain euphoric state? L. It is more like I provide a way for them to be there. My excitement might open a portal. Bill, do fairies interact with you when you are falling asleep and waking up? L. It is better if I am in nature. They are always around me. All I have to do is look out the window. They are always ready to be there. It is like just sitting together, the art of being. But they love the fact that I have musical instruments and that I have books. Sometimes they will borrow a crystal or a hairpin and I will find it somewhere else later. They will sometimes push a book off my shelf if it is something they want me to read. Bill, so if you are in a bookstore they will sometimes guide you to a certain book? L. Yeah. There are book fairies. And those seem to be more Celtic, Irish, and Scottish in nature. Bill, are you near a window? L. Yes. A little bunny just ran across the yard. It was so cute. Bill, can you see fairies right now out the window? L. Oh yeah. Of course. I always see fairies. Bill, so for my readers, tell us what you see out the window right now. L. There are mostly fairies. When you get here you will see I have a little fairy ladder next to the tree. And something I have observed the past week is that they go up the ladder, one is on it right now, and then they vanish into the tree. They become part of the tree. So they can choose when they want to have fairy bodies or when they literally want to be part of a tree or part of nature. And that wasn't something I knew before. So right now most of them are part of the tree. Bill, and how big is the ladder? L. It is about a foot long. Bill, but it has little rungs. L. Yeah. Little rungs. It comes up to like right below my knee. It has little rungs they can climb up. It is the perfect size for a fairy. Bill, where did you find your fairy ladder? L. It used to be part of a birdhouse I had when my parakeets were in their old cage. But it is the perfect size for a fairy ladder, so I put it by the tree. Bill, so could a fairy join with your body the way it joins with a tree? L. I don't know. I haven't seen them do that with people, just with trees and little green plants. Maybe they can. Bill, well, there is this group of men and one of them tells me how he has invited a fairy queen to unite with his body so that she is inside of him. There was an elaborate ritual involved. L. Interesting. That is probably more of a magician type thing. I think fairies probably don't walk up to someone and become part of them naturally. You probably have to help them do that. Bill, but you could probably sit outside and meditate and they would circle around you. L. Oh yeah. They always come around me, tickle my feet and jump on me and stuff. Sometimes they will hand me a fairy baby and I have never seen anything so cute. Bill, so what is happening now with the fairies outside the window? L. There are some that are part of the tree and there are some sitting on the ladder and there are some darting around like through the weeds. I think they are just playing right now. Night is when they actually go out and do more of their nature work. The pictures we have of fairies on Bell Rock look like really cool Christmas lights. They check all the plants at night and they watch everything. They are the divas of the land. Bill, do they turn into lights at night or do they keep their form and become luminous? L. The glow is what shows up on camera. I think sometimes you can make out shapes even on camera pictures. I love it when we drive through Oak Creek Canyon at night because the air is so clear and there are fairies all through the woods like a giant Christmas tree. Bill, can you describe one of the fairies sitting on the ladder? L. I will describe the purple one. Bill, how big? L. It looks like she is 4 inches tall. She is pretty slender. Her skin actually looks kind of grayish. It looks good on her. Her hair is down to her elbows, pretty long. She doesn't really have eyebrows. Her eyes are small and kind of cute. And her dress looks like a flower turned upside down like a skirt. And she is barefoot. And I think she is sitting on a leaf. There is a leaf on the ladder. Bill, wow. L. She is super cute. You have to appreciate different forms of beauty when it comes to fairies because they don't look exactly like humans. They are so pretty. She has really angular features too, like a pointed nose and a super pointed chin, like more pointed than a human's would ever be. Bill, so as you look at her, is she aware of you looking? L. Yes. She is showing off, like doing the flirty eye thing where she glances at me, stretches out, and fluffs her skirt. She knows that I am watching her. She is proud of who she is and is happy to share it with me. And she likes that I admire her. Bill, and when you are using your eyes to look at her, I assume there is an energy connection. What does that energy connection through your eyes feel like? L. It feels like I am one with her. Whenever I look at something or a person, I feel like I experience their emotions in some part of me. If they are angry or upset, I know it is not me but them. It feels like anything else. If I look at a tree, I can feel the flow of the water. With a fairy, I feel how excited she is. She is excited because she is thinking about making fairy slippers from flower petals, and I think that would be adorable. Bill, so you are picking up her thoughts and feelings? L. Oh yeah. She is super excited. She is happy. Bill, for you this is normal? L. Yes. I was going to say that for me this is normal, but let me think what her feelings are like for a human. For a human it feels like all your wishes just came true. It feels like a fairy tale, like Cinderella just got the prince, the dress, and everything. Everything that you want to happen, like if you are a man sitting there alone in your dark room and then someone just gave you a castle and the woman of your dreams. That is what it would feel like. Bill, so this is a little like shooting up with heroin or cocaine or something. L. I have never done drugs but I would assume so. Bill, let's stick with that phrase of having all your wishes just come true. Is that a feeling she has all the time or is that a feeling she can bestow on others? L. She feels like that most of the time. I mean, there are moments when she will get annoyed, like if a twig falls on her or something. She can experience irritation. But she has always had that emphasis about her. She just has absolute faith in the universe and in herself, where she knows that whatever she dreams up can be accomplished. It is real to her, whatever it is. Bill, let me try to paraphrase that. She has absolute faith in the universe that whatever she dreams up can be made real. Is that what you said? L. Yes. Whatever she dreams can be made real. You might say she is the perfect idealist and dreamer for this world. A lot of people in my generation have lost their idealism and become bitter, but she is not like that. Always happy. Bill, but she is not a wish-fulfilling gem that grants wishes to other people? L. Not this one. Bill, if someone who was depressed and also psychic were sitting where you are sitting and looking at her, if he opened his mind and meditated, would that infect him with her sense of joy? L. I think so, if he is willing to sit still and has a level of insight to feel what another being is feeling. I am talking to her now somewhat telepathically, and I asked her if she actively helps people fulfill their wishes. She says it is not her career, so to speak, but it irritates her when a human comes near her and enters her space because it is a really depressing energy. So sometimes if the human is in her area, she will throw happy thoughts their way or try to cause something that will make them laugh so they stop polluting her space. Bill, so she would find human beings normally depressing, but she might do something to change their moods or vibrations so they are a little more happy out of self-defense. L. Right. But that is just her. Fairies are so diverse. There are some you can tune into that have the intention of trying to help you. Bill, but all the same, someone who is very receptive could gaze at her and recreate what she is in their astral body? L. Oh yeah. I don't see why not. When you come I will point her out to you so you can try that. Bill, can you give her a name so you and I can identify her more easily? L. Hang on. She says I can call her Orchard for right now. She says she will give her fairy name a little later. Bill, seems like she should have her own children's book and be part of what is called a bestiary, which catalogs different kinds of spirits, and she would be the one who feels that all her dreams are becoming real. L. Yes. This is personal, but I asked her if I could have some sort of totem that would connect me to her so she would stay here, and she said she will still be here when you are here. But she says she doesn't have a totem that will last, but she said that if I want to connect with her I should go blow bubbles. Bill, can you get some idea of the dreams she has made real? L. For herself? Bill, yeah. L. She said it is a moment-to-moment thing, not like one thing. She said it is in every moment, like if she wants a new dress she is going to get it in the next few hours. Let me ask her what her recent dream was. You know, there is that back section of green area beyond the back fence. She said she wanted them to stop cutting the yard as often so she can spend time in there. She understands that the owners have to cut it because of the neighborhood association rules. But she wished they would stop doing it like every 3 days. And I have noticed that the grass has been growing for a week and a half or 2 weeks before they cut it. She said she wished that and made it happen. This gives her the opportunity to have a space near the tree that she calls home where she can venture out, explore, and create in a more natural space. Bill, what kind of tree is that? L. Juniper. Bill, and what does she feel about you? L. She didn't say it with words, but she is comfortable with my energy because we both have the same sense of absolute trust that we will be taken care of and that everything good can be yours if you believe you deserve it and if you give back to the earth. We have the same upbeat, airy vibration. We are not wigged out by things easily. Bill, would you say she is more the air element than the other elements? L. Yes, but there is a kind of flowery energy mixed in. Bill, like a flower fairy? L. I am not sure what your sense of a flower fairy is, but I think she would be a good candidate. Bill, humans seem to make what she does into such a ponderous, serious activity, where here you have a fairy who works with making dreams real as a playful and innocent action. L. She was talking like I don't understand why people don't celebrate more, and I was agreeing, saying we should get some confetti and throw a party, and she got excited and almost fell off the ladder. I often have the feeling of wanting to celebrate something. Bill, I am assuming she is part of a genre of fairies who have the same vibration. L. She was probably like that. She is now part of a community she chose and not the one she was born into. These are her friends rather than what we might call blood relatives. But yet I have seen other fairies with that same outlook on life. Bill, so the fairy in your backyard is different from the astral plane fairy kingdoms where everything is closely interwoven, so there is like a hierarchy, whereas she moves freely between everything she is encountering? L. Yeah. And fairies can choose that. They don't have to be part of a fairy court or a fairy kingdom. It is just what they want to do, like humans. Some want to be part of a community and some want to be solitary. Bill, does she sing? L. She says she hums. If you want one that sings, you can contact one of her other friends who you can meet when you visit. Bill, give me a moment. Okay. So you could invite her into your dreams at night? L. Oh yeah. She will probably show up there anyway now that we have connected. She wants to be friends with me. She says she has never had a close human friend before, and I told her I am not human. She says, I know, but you are in a human body, and that is what I meant. She wants to play at some point, so I asked her if she would be willing to go down to the creek with me. She says that if I let her know in advance, she will get in the car with us and go. But she says we have to bring her back here too, so we need to let her know when we are leaving too. Bill, I suspect you could offer her something that she would like, perhaps a fruit or scent that she would like placed at the foot of her tree. L. I do things like that all the time, but she said that she is actually happy with the way things are outside. She said she is really grateful for the fairy ring. If I want her to come into the house or into my room, she would feel most at home if I put eucalyptus and lemon oil into the diffuser and made a smell like that. Bill, it disperses it like an aerosol. L. Yes. Bill, that is almost like enchanting music for her, that scent? L. Yeah. She says it gives her a sense of being home, like us walking into a room with enjoyable music on. It is relaxing for her and makes it easier for her to be apart from the out of doors. Bill, we will wrap this up for now. Thank you.